What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods. We are back with another live stream. Our boy Brandon finally back. The dude has taken off like 2 months, it feels like. The episodes have not been the same without my homie. So he is back and he comes for a big episode, man. It is our first mock draft. We're doing another one the week before the draft. So we'll tune in for that. But as of right now, based on the information we had with no combine, which is a bummer for us all, we are here with a mock draft. So we're going to go through the first round, all 32 picks. We're going to break down where the potential trades could be, but we're not projecting trades. And given how the lineup is right now, we're going to tell you who should draft what player. So, Brandon, let's kick it off here. I'll let you start off since you just got back. Jacksonville Jaguars up. I feel like this is that's like tossed you a little like nice little layup, bro. You should be able to hit this one for a home run, man.
Oh my goodness, dude. I feel like this was probably the best way for me to return was with this easy of a home run. So thank you, Zach. But first overall pick, I don't even think it's debatable. It's got to be Trevor Lawrence, right? And so that's why I have going number one overall on my draft board. It did not matter who had the first overall pick. You could have told me Kansas City had the first overall pick. They have to be Trevor Lawrence. He's a one-generational guy. Maybe he won't start over Patrick Mahomes, but he'll be there as soon as Mahomes gets tired of KC or whatever the case is. They have all this capital to trade away, whatever. Jacksonville, luckily, does need a quarterback, and so they're going to go with Trevor Lawrence, of course.
Yeah, I also have Trevor Lawrence, like you said, generational talent. He's probably I would say the most hyped incoming college player since probably Andrew Luck. And before that, I don't even know who you could even compare. Maybe Peyton Manning or something like that. I mean, Brandon, I don't like to say a prospect is a surefire lock, a guarantee. This is probably as close as you absolutely can get to a surefire. You can't mess up this pick. I know. I haven't got your opinion on this. There has been a narrative that people should take Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. I'd like to get your quick thoughts on that.
I think that's stupid. I think it's probably the worst idea that has ever been spouted on this podcast, and that is a tough thing to do.
That is bad. Hey, the national championship episode, the original one, that theirs was some bad takes on that, but it was never worse than Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. But we both got Trevor Lawrence here. This is a huge need for the Jaguars, and Urban Meyer gets his franchise quarterback at number one. Now we get a little iffy, Brandon. We move to New York, the New York Jets. There's been a bunch of ways they can go. Which quarterback do they take, or do they stick with Sam Darnold and get him some help? Where do you think the Jets go here at number two?
So if I'm the GM for the Jets, I'm taking offensive lineman here. Unfortunately, I'm not. I don't hold any kind of responsibilities that they do. And so what I think they're going to do here, I think they're going to get a quarterback. And I think the best quarterback on the board left, and this might be controversial, especially with all the Zach Wilson hype that's been coming forth. I think Justin Fields is the second pick in this draft. I mean, he's a tried and true player. We've seen him perform even injured, in this past year's playoff, and I think he performed very well. And I think that the Jets, if they're looking to just kind of switch it up at the quarterback position, they can't really lose drafting Justin Fields here.
I absolutely agree. I have Fields here in my quarterback rankings for the draft. I do have Wilson ranked higher than Fields, just in my personal opinion. But like Brandon said, I am not the GM of any of these teams, but I think they would go Fields over Wilson. I think his mobility kind of separates him. We have discussed that this offensive line isn't the best that we've ever seen in the NFL. So you want a guy who can escape pressure, move the pocket, and I think Fields can do that. And one of Darnold's biggest problems, Brandon, has been his accuracy. And Fields threw one of the most catchable balls in college football these past 2 years. I think Fields would be an immediate upgrade over Sam Darnold. But like you said, they have a second pick coming later. Where do they go? Do they get him some help on the offensive line? Do they get him some help at wide receiver? That's to be seen. But this is an immediate upgrade. And what do you think they could get for Darnold, realistically, Brandon? I mean, what, a third-round pick maybe? I would say that's probably the max.
I'd say third round, maybe like a late second round pick at absolute best. Sam Darnold, I mean, they took him super high in the draft that he was a part of, and he's unformed, and we can attribute that to a number of factors. Maybe it was he didn't have protection, or he didn't have the weapons, or maybe the coaching wasn't there. whatever it is, he hasn't performed in New York. Honestly, like I said, if I were in the front office of the Jets, I'd say take another position. I think they're gonna have the same kind of struggles here with Justin Fields. I do think Justin Fields is a step above Sam Darnold, but I don't know how much success they're gonna have. If they don't have any weapons, if they don't have any protection, I guess, other than Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, I mean, Mekhi Becton is probably their only true offensive lineman threat. We'll see there. But I mean, let's go on to my favorite team, man. This is a huge pick for my team. We always seem to muck it up somehow, and I cannot stand it. Got the Miami Dolphins here. Of course, this would be the Texans pick. There's been rumors they could trade it for Watson, or maybe even Russell Wilson if the Seahawks move him. They could trade back. Brandon, we are predicting trades, but I want to say this here. This is probably the most likely top 3 pick to be traded. I think the most likely team would be the Panthers. They need a quarterback real bad. Teddy Bridgewater, good, I guess, game manager QB. He's not the future of anyone's franchise. Look for the Panthers to trade here. But who do you think the Dolphins take if they stay at 3?
So the Dolphins are another team that have 2 picks in this draft. And so I think they're going to have to go with the best overall player here, or at least the best perceived overall player. Between 2 positions. I think it's either wide receiver or offensive lineman for the Dolphins. I think they could take the best wide receiver off the board here. There's the big 3. There's Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. I think those are the big 3 in this draft. I think they're going to go Jamar Chase with this pick. I think they're going to give Tua a target. Yes, the Dolphins have targets, but do they have anybody like wide receiver 1 capabilities right now, Zach? I don't think so. I think they have to take one of these 3, and I think that Jamar Chase is probably the best rated receiver in this draft.
I like that pick. Listen, you have Devontae, and I don't think he's really a number 1 wide receiver. It can he be a 2? Maybe. They did Devontae Parker out of Louisville a few years ago. He hasn't really blossomed into what they thought he was going to be. He was a first-round pick as well. I think they also go wide receiver here, Brandon, because they just traded for Tennessee's a lineman out of Tennessee last year that they drafted with the first-round pick out of Georgia. So they get a second-year first-round pick. I got them taking Devontae Smith. Listen, the argument could rage on this podcast for me and Brandon have argued this topic multiple episodes here. Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase, either one you pick is a surefire pick for me. I think they're the top 2 wide receivers. I think they go Devontae Adams here just because of the Alabama connection with Tua. They want Tua to be more comfortable. They want him to be the franchise quarterback. So why not get him his college teammate where they hooked up as far back as, I don't know if y'all remember this, it was Tua to Devontae Smith to win the national championship against Georgia in 2018 when they were both true freshmen. Why not get that connection back together? I think Devontae Smith suits up down in Miami next year. But Jamar Chase, listen, I won't hate you. If you come here, I'll probably have your jersey if you get drafted by the Dolphins anyway. But now we get to a controversial pick, man. This team could go anywhere. The Atlanta Falcons, could they stick with Matt Ryan, get him a weapon? That defensive line and linebacking core needs some help. They could use some secondary help. They could use some O-line help. Brandon, where do you think the Falcons go here?
So I think that what you said about the most likely trade in this draft, or at least the most likely high trade in this draft, was accurate in the Dolphins. And I think that's because Atlanta and Carolina are probably going to be gunning for the same position here. And so I do have Atlanta taking a quarterback. It might not be, last year might not have been Matt Ryan's last year, but I think that he's getting close to that final stretch. I think they want to put somebody in a position to take over for him. And I think that Zach Wilson is probably the most likely fit in this Atlanta offense. I think he's a guy that, he's been very highly rated, very highly touted, especially this offseason. I think he benefits from having this independent schedule this past season where most teams are playing within their conference. And so he was able to shine against maybe teams that he wouldn't have normally played against. And so he looked really good. And don't get me wrong, he is very good. But a top 4 talent, I'm not so sure. I do think Atlanta takes a chance on him just because of all of this. The scouts like what they've seen to this point. And honestly, don't get me wrong. If the Saints took Zach Wilson at some point in this draft, I'm not complaining whatsoever. I think he's a great quarterback, and I think that he'll make a very good NFL quarterback one day. But I could definitely see Atlanta kind of sticking their necks out here and taking Zach Wilson with the 4th pick.
I could see. I definitely could see that. I honestly think it's going to come down to who the Jets take at number 2. If they go Wilson at 2, I think Fields will go here. If they go Fields like we projected, I think the Falcons go Wilson here. I know there's been a lot of rumors about Trey Lance being a project that could sit behind Matt Ryan, but why would you take the lower projected project when you could sit Justin Fields for a year and have him learn, or sit Zach Wilson here? I'm going with Zach Wilson, though, just like you said. The kid, Brandon, he is getting pro comparisons to Patrick Mahomes.
Which is insane, by the
way. He can throw from every arm angle. I get the argument. He has elite arm strength. Brandon, no one saw BYU coming out and doing what they did this year, and Zach Wilson was the crux of that whole team. But the thing that worries me, Brandon, we saw in the Coastal Carolina game, if you get pressure on him, man, this kid can get rattled real fast. Things can go off the rails. And what happens when he faces, the Saints defense, who has rattled a quarterback like Tom Brady? What happens when he has Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh coming off the edge in Tampa Bay, and then you got 4 young dogs on the back end of that defense? I'm a little worried there. I think he sits a year. I think this is a good pickup, though. Zach Wilson for both of us going to the Falcons. Maybe we'll have some different picks here. We only got one so far, but I don't think it's going to start here, guys. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think there's a clear pick that both of us have them taken. So, Brandon, who do you have the Bengals taking here at 5?
Take the best player off the board. Take the player who should have been picked 2nd overall. Protect Joe Burrow at all costs. Take Penei Sewell from Oregon. It's crazy to me that he is probably actually going to slip number 5. This isn't just, and that's so I assume you have, Zach, but it's not just our mock drafts that have Penei Sewell at 5. This is every single mock draft I've looked at in the past week. Everyone has him dropping to 5, being taken by the Bengals, which I think is an absolute steal. This is 2 years in a row where the Bengals might as well have had the 1st overall pick, because he has that number 1 overall talent.
Yeah, he does. And, you get Joe Burrow last year, Brandon. You have no offensive line. We saw what happened with no offensive line. Joe Burrow, unfortunately gets injured. You have to. I don't care if the Bengals pick 32nd. You had to go offensive tackle. You had to go offensive line somewhere. Penei Sewell is the plug-and-play guy from day one. Brandon, we've seen him play tackle. We've seen him win the Outland Trophy at guard. We've seen him at center at times. This kid can play any of the 5 positions. Like you said, they might get the best just pure player in the draft here at 5. I also have Penei Sewell here to the Bengals, but
not to mention, like you said with Trevor Lawrence being the most highly touted recruit since, or I guess prospect since Andrew Luck. That goes the same for the offensive line position here. Penei Sewell is probably the most highly touted prospect since Quentin Nelson even.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that he's going to be able to drop all the way to 5.
Yeah, this is one of those years, Brandon, without Lawrence there, Penei Sewell very likely could have went 1st in this draft. I know there's talk about, I believe, Rashawn Slater being a better O-line prospect. Don't buy that one single bit. I know Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech's up there too, but Penei Sewell, no doubt to me, is the best O-line prospect we've had this year. And we get to a dumpster fire, Brandon. I don't know how you fix a dumpster fire with one pick here. We had the Philadelphia Eagles. Some people said they should move on from Jalen Hurts, which is a horrible decision. Some people said they should go defense, another horrible decision. But who do you think the Eagles take here at number 6?
I think they go with the wide receiver that I didn't pick with number 3. I'm going with Devontae Smith here. I think they give Jalen Hurts a target to work with. They do. I think that they have a lot of spots they need to fill. To think that this team won the Super Bowl 3 years ago to where they're at now, that's crazy. And so I think that Jalen Hurts is who you need to work with. We saw what he could do last season toward the end of the year whenever Wentz got benched. I think Jalen Hurts has that potential there. And, I'll be the first one to eat my words. Last season, even during our draft live stream, I'm sitting here talking about Jalen Hurts being the best receiver left on the board. And then he ends up going to the Eagles as a quarterback. And he performed very well. I think he definitely needs a target, though, especially with the Eagles losing as much at receiver as they have this offseason. I think it's a safe pick to take Devontae Smith. This kind of, I guess, like, what would you even call it? Like safety blanket receiver that Jalen Hurts can just dump it off to really at any time.
Yeah, I like it. I didn't take, Jamar Chase earlier. I got Jamar Chase going here. I think, Brandon, like if in your opinion, if the Eagles land Jamar Chase at 6, they got the best wide receiver on the board all the way outside the top 5. And I mean, as an LSU fan, you probably speak to this too. If Jamar Chase goes to the Eagles, that gives them a downfield and underneath a one-on-one presence that if Jalen Hurts in trouble, we saw what Kyler Murray can do with DeAndre Hopkins. It's like, screw it. I'm just going to chunk this out of pressure. He's down there somewhere, and I think that's kind of what they're getting with Jamar Chase. He's that big body receiver that can go make plays in one-on-one coverage. And so personally, I think Jamar Chase would be a great fit, and I think Jalen Hurts, man, would be extremely excited to have Jamar Chase as his number one option.
I think so. I think that's a pretty good choice there, Zach.
But let's go to the Lions, man. I mean, we saw last year they take Okudah at 3. They have a new head coach that's ready to bite off everyone's ankles. Who is the first ankle biter that Campbell and the Lions are going to take here at 7?
I think the Lions need to do something with this trade they just made. They just got Jared Goff there at quarterback. They might not retain Galladay. That's not locked in. Like, that's not set in stone right now. And so, surprisingly, I also go mentioned him earlier in the big 3 is what I called it. I'm going with Jalen Waddle here at number 7. I think that's probably the safest pick they can go with here. I understand they do have a lot of needs as well. But with this trade, especially, I think Jared Goff needs some talent to work with. And I think that Jalen Waddle is the perfect receiver. He took off a year last year. He was injured, obviously, for most of the season anyway. I think he's going to come back strong. And I think there's every reason in the world to believe that Jalen Waddle can perform the same way that he did at Alabama for 2 years.
I actually really agree with you here. I actually also have Jalen Waddle going here. I thought this was going to be a controversial pick here. I was like, man, I don't know if Waddle's going to go this early, but I agree. I think them not retaining Galladay, I think was the biggest deciding factor for me. At first, I had them going DB. I thought they needed an opposite guy of Okudah to kind of play that shutdown role. But I think you got to go, wide receiver here, and I think Jalen Waddle's the next best guy on the board. Man, that deep threat with Goff. I mean, Goff never really had that true deep threat in LA. You get an immediate burner at the slot position or the outside position with Waddle. I think 3 wide receivers in the top 7 might sound crazy, but this arguably might be the best wide receiver class that we've seen in a long time. But Brandon, to the next quarterback, I'm assuming. Let's just get it out of the way. The Carolina Panthers aren't sticking with Bridgewater forever. So who do you have
Carolina
them taking here, man?
They need it. So, and this is what I was talking about earlier. I think that Carolina's last chance to get Zach Wilson would have been trading up in front of Atlanta, to that number 3 pick where Miami's sitting currently. But I think at number 8, they have to go the next best quarterback, which is kind of crazy that the 4th quarterback on the board is going at number 8. I think they go with Trey Lance here. I think they take a chance on not the D1 prospect here. I think they go with North Dakota State. We've seen what Trey Lance can do on the field, and honestly, I'm sitting here still shocked. I mean, watching him play in the past couple of weeks has been crazy, but the kid's good. I'd love to see how he performs at the professional level. I think that Matt Rule is the perfect coach. If Trey Lance was going to go somewhere in the NFL, I think Matt Rule is a great coach to deal with him, to kind of help him develop. think Teddy Bridgewater does end up playing, the first couple games, maybe the first whole season. Trey Lance sits behind him, helps him develop, and then I think that the Panthers roll with him next season as their starter.
I also agree with you here, man. We got the same pick so far, man, but I think Trey Lance goes here. I mean, it's a project QB, but you also have I would think one of the better safety nets in the NFL with Teddy Bridgewater. If you need to go back to him for a year or two, you can. I think Trey Lance, I mean, Brandon, I don't know if you watched his, I guess, pro day / combine workout this past week. He looked really big. He looked a lot bigger than I think people are giving him credit for. I think his arm strength and accuracy was kind of shown off there. I think Trey Lance is a great pick here. I think the Panthers need that kind of franchise guy to kind of, I would say, revitalize what, has been kind of a dreary situation since Cam Newton stepped away from the Panthers. But moving on here to the Denver Broncos, man. What are the Broncos going to do to get Mile High back into competing with the Raiders and the Chiefs in their division?
So it's kind of, I don't know. It's a weird situation out in Denver because they can go so many ways here with this pick. I think that, there are the people saying they can go quarterback here. There's already 4 quarterbacks off the board. I don't think that they do. I don't think they take a chance on a quarterback here in the first round. I think they end up giving Drew Lock another chance, actually. I'm not exactly sure, but from what we've seen this offseason, all signals are kind of indicated that. But you know what? We haven't chosen a defensive player in the first 8 picks. Let's go ahead and choose one at number 9. I think they definitely need help in their secondary, and I think that Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech is the perfect pick here at number 9. Just one of these cornerbacks who can really do it all. I think he's the best secondary player in this draft, and so I think that's who Denver goes with in this pick.
Man, I can't believe you're disrespecting my boy like that. I also have them go in DB, but how do you take Caleb Farley over Patrick Surtain?
I don't know.
I can't believe you pass up the Bama boy like that. This dude has NFL blood. And I mean, this dude, like we've talked about on the podcast, he was one of our SEC MVPs of the year. I mean, this kid can ball. He's a true shutdown corner. He's from that Nick Saban DB tree, which almost always turns out to be stars in the NFL. I think Patrick Surtain would give you an immediate lockdown corner to shut down one side of the field. And I think you have to take him here at number 9 if you're the Broncos. I think it's probably the most surefire pick as a DB in terms of a DB goes. We haven't seen Farley play in over a year. I'm taking the guy I've seen most recently. I think Patrick Surtain would make it so much better in terms of Broncos. And I just don't listen, Brad, I'm not going to lie here. I guess it's time to expose myself. I'm not a Caleb Farley believer. I think he's going to be one of the busts of the first round. I don't see that it factor with him, and I see it with Surtain and some other DBs that we're probably going to talk about later in this first round.
Okay. I mean, say what you will. I am a Caleb Farley believer. I think he's the real deal. And I don't need Bama fans coming from a neck right now. I know LSU just lost in the SEC tournament to Bama, whatever. It's not even about that. But I have Patrick Surtain coming up fairly shortly here.
All right, well, let's talk about this next team, man. It's America's team, sort of, I guess, depending on who you ask. It's the Cowboys, the dumpster fire that was the Jerry Jones fiasco. They get Dak Prescott back, Brandon. I feel like this has to be defense. That defense was historically bad last year. So what defensive player are you picking to fix the Cowboys?
So this is actually where I have Patrick Surtain going. And this is the pick. This is where I think This is where I think that Jerry Jones needs to go with this pick. Am I sure that he's actually going to go defense here at all? Not a chance. I mean, maybe if he's smart, if he listens to his advisors, if he listens to his scouts. I mean, there's a reason they have a job. There's a reason that he hired them. But he might not. We all know Jerry Jones. He'll probably end up picking another running back or something. But the Cowboys absolutely need to go DB here. I'm going with Patrick Surtain.
Listen, I agree with DB, and this is where your boy falls. Caleb Farley goes here. I still think it's a reach for him. I wanted to go JC Horn, but I feel like Virginia Tech fans would have had me strung up and cancel the podcast. We would have had 0-star ratings all throughout the land. So I'm going with Caleb Farley here to shore up that back end. I think, man, they got Trayvon Diggs last year from Alabama, who was a great pick. I think he's going to be a future Pro Bowler. They got to have someone to go across him. I think an interesting pick here too, Brandon, would be defensive end. They got to get a pass rusher. They got to get some defensive line sure up. But I just don't know if there's a defensive lineman that's you can go with here and feel very comfortable that you nailed it. So Caleb Farley here for me. Brandon's going Patrick Surtain. But let's get to their divisional rivals, man. The Giants. They got Saquon back coming from injury. They're going to stick with Daniel Jones based on what we know. Where do you think the Giants go here?
So the Giants are another one of these teams that could go in a lot of different directions. I feel like this offense is pretty solid, right? I mean, they've got a great I think they have a really good quarterback in Daniel Jones. They have an incredible running back in Saquon. The O-line is surprisingly decent, and so I didn't really know where to go here. I think that you have to give Daniel Jones a target, and so that's why I'm going with this player. I think you have to go with the next best receiver on the board. He's not really a receiver. I'm going with Kyle Pitts out of Florida. He had to come at some point. A lot of people have him in the top 10. Maybe we should have, but we don't. But I think he's a nice fit in this Giants offensive scheme. I don't know. I think he's a good pick here.
Matt, do you know how disgusting that offense is going to be with Darius Slayton, Saquon Barkley? They already have Evan Ingram at tight end, and you're going to give them Kyle Pitts? That's going to be a disgusting, disgusting combination.
Oh, yeah. You got to do it.
Listen, I'm going defense here. I think that offense, if Saquon doesn't get hurt, I think that offense is fine, Brandon. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I mean, losing arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL is a tough sell. I'm going – listen, this is going to be a little bit controversial. I'm going Gregory Rousseau here, Miami edge rusher. I hear everyone saying, oh, Jalen Phillips is going to be the first edge rusher. Jalen Phillips should absolutely not be picked over Gregory Rousseau because the only reason he started for Miami this year is because Gregory Rousseau didn't play. That's it. Like he is Gregory Rousseau like 0.5. It's not even comparable. I mean, Gregory Rousseau is big. He's like 6'7". He's 250. He almost tied Chase Young in sacks as a freshman and then opted out of this year. I think Gregory Rousseau here gives them an immediate pass rusher. They have Leonard Williams, who's been okay, I guess, but the Giants don't have that true pass rusher, and they were filled with them when they made their Super Bowl runs, so they have to get back to what they know. They have to get that go-to guy who's going to cause quarterbacks nightmares the day before the game. So Gregory Rousseau here for me. Brandon has them becoming a juggernaut offensive team with Kyle Pitts. So let's move on here, man. Another team a lot of people are thinking might trade up, but we got them here at 12 with the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon, do you have Jimmy G's replacement here, or do you fix that defensive secondary for the 49ers?
I don't do either one of those, Zach, honestly. I'm going to go with the position they need most of all, in my opinion, and that is offensive line. They have to do something about this offensive line. I mean, they're leaking all over the place. And while I do understand that Christian Darrison might be the second best lineman in this draft, I'm not going to go with him here. I think there's a better fit for this offensive line. Kyle Shanahan loves to run this zone offensive line scheme and like this zone block, and I think Rashawn Slater is the best choice at this position. Like I said, I truly do think Christian Darrison is the second best offensive lineman in this draft. But Rashawn Slater, I mean, he's nasty as well. I know Zach has words for him. He's a little undersized, I'll say that. But we saw the way that he handled Chase Young, and that's what everyone's going to point to in their mock drafts and in their scouting reports, whatever it is. I think that he works really well in Kyle Shanahan's scheme in San Francisco.
I like it. I really do. I don't think that's a bad pick. And I told you before this show, this was going to be my most controversial pick. I know some of our dudes at the Worst Take Network really love these 49ers. So here we go. I'm sure I'm going to catch some hell for this one. I have Trevon Moehrig, TCU safety here, TCU DB. He can play all over the back end. Richard Sherman's like 900 years old now. He not the answer. They really don't have a true shutdown corner, in my opinion. I think Moverick is the best safety, best versatile DB they have like in this draft. The 49ers get an absolute shutdown guy. When you play in the division you play in with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, you also have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. You have to have that shutdown guy that can play all around the backfield, make plays. You saw what the Seahawks did with the Legion of Boom. This is the next Cam Chancellor of the NFC West. I think you get that game-changing safety. You also have Matt Stafford coming into LA now, a gunslinger. You have to get that secondary right. I have Trevon Moehrig probably being reached a little bit, but I think his talent will make up for it. So 49ers fans, before you jump on me, let this kid play a few games. See how good he is. I promise you, we cover college football. This kid is really, really good. And, and 49ers and QBs will be interesting now. Absolutely. But, man, let's go ahead and move on here, man. We're back out in California with the Chargers at 13. They nailed their picks last year, man. Justin Herbert is everything and more that they got last year. So where did the Chargers go this year, man?
So the Chargers could, and I feel like this is a lot of teams. I feel like it might be the most cliche thing that I could ever say. It's one of those teams that can go in a lot of directions. Yes. I think there's one player that people have somehow forgotten about and somehow forgotten that he is the best linebacker in this draft. He's a player that a lot of teams could use, the Chargers included. They need to fill some gaps in this defense. I'm going with Micah Parsons here out of Penn State.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. This is I mean, he's a real game changer, isn't he, Zach?
Oh, he is. And did you not? I don't know if people remember, they also got Kenneth Murray last year in the first round. So you get Kenneth Murray, you get Micah Parsons. I mean, that gives you one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL. I mean, I would have never thought you were going linebacker here. I'm not even going to lie to you. That is crazy. I'm going the other side of the ball, Brandon. Switching up now. I'm going with your last pick, Rashawn Slater here, Northwestern offensive tackle. Like everything you said is true. He's got a nasty streak to him. He can do it against the best of the best. And really and truly, I don't feel like their division had they got Von Miller, that they got Chris Jones on the inside, they got Frank Clark, but I don't think I think this kid is going to be able to step in day one and be an immediate impact. And Brandon, you nailed your pick last year. You saw what happened to Joe Burrow. You saw what was happening to Tua down in Miami. You got to get Herbert some immediate help. Make sure his jersey stays clean. Make sure he stays away from injury. So I think the Chargers make a long-term investment here. Not a sexy pick, but it's a needed pick. Rashawn Slater, Northwestern, I think goes to the Chargers here. But I think this team could use a few things. But we're going to go to the Minnesota Vikings, man. Can they get back into the playoff race? Can they get to the playoffs and make the Saints' life a living hell again?
I hope not. I really hope not, Zach. But, yes, Minnesota needs everything. Their coach was quoted last year as saying it's the worst defense he's ever coached. And so I'm going to go with the defensive side of the ball. I feel like it's a safe pick here. And I'm going to go with Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think he is absolutely disgusting on the defensive line, and I think that he's a player that the Vikings could definitely benefit from having on their side of the ball.
That's going to be a nasty duo, Paye and Hunter on the edge. Man, it's going to be a pretty mean defensive line, I would have to say. I'm going defense with you too, man, but there's one thing that they don't really have, and it's that shutdown corner. I'm going with actually my second favorite corner in this draft, J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. I think this kid's a playmaker. I think this kid can do anything and everything that Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley could do. I think he comes from a background with Travarius Robinson in South Carolina under Will Muschamp. I mean, this kid is a baller. I think he's going to be a day one starter for them, and it finally gives them that go-to corner here. And if you're in any division where you have to go through Aaron Rodgers, you have to have some DBs. And I think that's why they're doing it, man. You got to get past Aaron Rodgers and those boys up in Green Bay, and there's nothing better to do than to get some DB help to stop that passing attack. because you got to stop Devontae Adams, Brandon. And as you know, that is not an easy task. So go ahead and get some back-end help there. And now we're moving to the Patriots, man. One of the most interesting situations. They signed Cam Newton for 1 year, $14 million this week. They need wide receivers. They need defensive line. They need linebackers. And, I mean, they need a lot of stuff, Brandon. So who do you think the Patriots get here at 15?
I think that they plan for the future here, Zach. A lot of people have them taking a quarterback. I'm one of those people. I think they end up going with Mac Jones here. I think that Belichick sees I think that Belichick sees a lot of potential here in Mac Jones. Everyone knows that Belichick and Nick Saban have a really close relationship. I think Nick Saban's willing to vouch for Mac Jones here. They have to plan for the future. Cam Newton is not the future in New England. I'm kind of shocked he got another chance, period. So, like, I don't know. Who are they going to go with? Jared Stidham? I guess not. I would like to see Mac Jones in New England. I'd like to be proven wrong because I'm not super high on Mac Jones.
I'm not high on Mac Jones, and so I'm not going Mac Jones. I think they're going to go best player here, Brandon. What was their biggest need other than the quarterback? Offensive weapons. I think the best offensive weapon in the draft fell here. I got Kyle Pitts, Florida tight end, going to New England to be the next game changer. I mean, Brandon, since Gronk left, they've had horrible tight ends, horrible receivers. Kyle Pitts is immediately – okay, Brandon, this is going to be controversial. Kyle Pitts is the immediate best player on that entire offense if he steps into New England. Immediately.
I mean, yeah. I can definitely see it. I mean, he is such – people don't talk about him as a generational talent, and he really is. I mean, we saw what happened the second that he wasn't playing with Florida this season. For God's sakes, LSU beat Florida this last year because Kyle Pitts wasn't playing. Everyone thought it was Kyle Trask. It wasn't. I mean, that's spoiler of the century. It wasn't. It was Kyle Pitts. So, yeah, I could definitely see him making an immediate change, immediate impact on this New England team if he were to get drafted there.
I agree. And, you know, and moves us back out west, Brandon. We got a team that just got J.J. Watt. They got Indy Isabella at wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake. They got some talent. Where do you think the Arizona Cardinals go to get them over the top as a Super Bowl contender?
They're, I mean, most dire, most immediate need, Zach. And I don't even know. You might not have this position being taken right now, but they have to have this offensive line taken care of. They have to have somebody take care of Kyler Murray. Because Kyler Murray, he can do so much and he can dump it off to D-Hop. But if he doesn't have anyone protecting him, he might not have the time to do that. And so I think Christian Darrison is far and away the best offensive lineman at this point in the draft anyway, left on my board. I think that's where they have to go with this pick.
I like it. And listen, this is going to be controversial. I know they just got J.J. Watt. I get it. J.J. Watt and, Chandler Jones are kind of old. I'm going with another D lineman that I think they can move to the 3 technique inside to make some real moves. I got Kwity Paye here, Brandon. It's from Michigan. I think he's athletic enough to play all across the D line. He's strong enough. He's been a 3 technique. He's been a nose. He can move all around the D line. I think they're going to make that D line one of the best in the country here. Kwity Paye, J.J. Watt, Jones, you are terrified of that. You have Russell Wilson. You have Matt Stafford. I mean, you have all these quarterbacks that can go out and make plays, so why not get after the quarterback and make teams beat you another way? So I got a controversial pick here. I think Kwity Paye heads out to Arizona. Yes, I know O-line for the Cards seems like the move, man, but I really think that they're going to wait on that to the later rounds because for me, I think the O-line class is very deep. I think you got someone like Alex Leatherwood that could be sitting for you in the second round. I think that's high value there. So I'm going to go immediate help. We're going 10 years in the future. Kwity Paye will be a standout D lineman. Let's go out, Brandon. Our favorite place. We might have a trip planned out here soon. But we got the Las Vegas Raiders, man, that they actually listen, as much criticism as they've actually pretty much nailed those draft picks. I mean, Jonathan Abram's been pretty solid. Henry Ruggs has been a stud. And so where do you think the Raiders go?
So I know you said they nailed them. They still, I mean, they didn't have to take Henry Ruggs, and we
That's
all
true.
know that. Everyone
That's
knows
true.
that. But they did. I think Jerry Jeudy just had the misfortune of being on the Broncos last season, and he had Drew Lock passing to him. Zach, I want to see you do anything with Drew Lock as your quarterback. You can't. So, yeah, it's always fun to make a joke at the Raiders' expense here. Who's the fastest wide receiver left on the board? Because that's probably who they're going to take. That's not on my board. That's not what I'm picking for them. I'm going to go ahead and make the smart pick here. They just hired a new defensive coordinator. I think they need some help on this defensive line. Gregory Rousseau is still on my board, and this is where he's going. He's going to Las Vegas. I mean, he is, I think, the best defensive lineman on the board at this point in the draft, on my board anyway. And so I think this is the obvious pick for Las Vegas. I mean, they have to beef up this defense a little bit. Like you said, they've got offensive weapons. Yeah, maybe the quarterback position is somewhere we need to work at. They're not going to get you do not need to reach for a quarterback at number 17 when, at least on my board, 5 are already gone. You're going to be able to get that value in the second round, in the third round, in the fourth round, and so on. Maybe even in free agency. You have to go defense here, and Gregory Rousseau is the player to fill that void.
Hey, what value to get arguably the best edge rusher in the draft at 17? I mean, that's solid to get a dude who had 15 and a half sacks his freshman year in the ACC against some of the best offensive line talent. I'm also going defense, but you see, I have probably the best overall defensive player falling here just because there's been some questions about behavioral stuff. There's been questions about a lot of stuff, but Micah Parsons here makes sense to me. It gives them that immediate shutdown linebacker. I mean, this kid is a demon. I mean, he's a dog, and I think it's exactly what Gruden wants on that defense. And so I think Micah Parsons is a day one upgrade from anything they have in that front seven. And so Micah Parsons, Penn State linebacker to Las Vegas. Brandon doesn't feel that way, but it's fine. We'll see how it is. Listen, if they get Rousseau or Parsons here at 17, mark it down as an A-plus pick for the Las Vegas Raiders for a long time. But you're right. Is Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, keep your phones on because they're probably going to be looking for some more speed to put on that offense. So let's move back here, Brandon. We're going back to my favorite team here, the Miami Dolphins. This is their actual pick. Where do you think the Dolphins go? Earlier in the draft, you had them going Jamar Chase. I had them going Devontae Smith. Where do the Dolphins go here at 18?
So, like I said, whenever they had the third pick here, I said they need wide receiver, they need offensive line. They had to protect Tua if that's who they're going to stick with, and it's looking like they are. So I'm going to go with probably the best offensive lineman left on my board, and that's Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. They have to beef up this offensive line. I know they just traded for, I forgot his name. Is it Isaiah something from Georgia? They got traded from the Titans.
Yep.
And so it's crazy. He got traded a year after he got drafted. Whatever. I think they beef up this O-line even more.
Yeah, he got suspended and had some behavioral issues, which is why they decided to move off of him. But I thought 1 year just to kind of get your stuff together is a little tight, especially for a first round pick. I mean, he must have really rubbed some people in the front office the wrong way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe he said some bad things about Nashville or something. We're not positive, but he did something. But he's in Miami now, and I think that this franchise can probably really take him to the moon. I think Elijah Vera Tucker is another one of these players who is just, I think, makes an immediate impact. And this offensive line is going to be disgusting. If they do end up drafting O-line in this first round, I mean, that's going to be absolutely insane. But what do the Dolphins need in this draft, Zach? I mean, you're a Dolphins fan. You probably know more than I do. I think they definitely needed weapons for Tua to target. I think they needed somebody to protect Tua. I think those are the two most dire needs for this Dolphins franchise.
Yeah, those are definitely the two most dire needs. Linebacker was really big. And, I had them going linebacker in the first ever mock draft I wrote up, but they just traded for Bernard McKinney out of Houston. So they got that linebacker kind of settled out. I don't think they would go for another one in the first round. They need running back. I'm not a huge fan of taking a running back in the first round. And so I don't think they do that. The next biggest need, like you said, offensive line. I also went offensive line here. Christian Darrisaw, Virginia Tech offensive lineman, is my pick here. He's already off your board, which makes sense. This kid's so talented. Had him falling here. I think it's a similar situation when the Dolphins got Tunsil so late in the draft. They get a day one starter they can put in. It gives them 3 or 4 young guys to kind of build around. They got Kinley out of Georgia. They got Wilson that they just traded with out of Tennessee. They got Austin Jackson out of USC last year. They're getting so many young offensive linemen to build up this team. You have to have offensive line to win. Tua's already made of glass, so we can't have him getting hit like he did last year. So that's a huge pick for the Dolphins here. We both go O-line for the Dolphins at 18. Now we move on to a team that we're still all trying to figure out how they made the playoffs, the Washington football team. Brandon, we know they don't need D-line. They probably got the best D-line in the country, so please don't go D-line here. But who do you think the Washington football team gets here at number 19?
I know that they have a receiver who is probably going to be their wide receiver 1. They have McLaurin. This guy has really busted onto the scene and shown everybody that he's a real threat. I think that they beef up that wide receiver position. I think they go with a wide receiver 2 and a guy who probably has the potential to be the wide receiver 1 day. Little undersized. I'm going with Rondale Moore. I think that he's a great value pick here at 19. This is a guy this time last year we were talking about being a top 10 pick in the draft. This guy is insane. I had him on my Heisman watch. I think on our very first Heisman watch segment. This guy, Rondale Moore, you cannot go wrong with him here.
I like it. Listen, I got to explain myself now because you talked Rondale up so much. I also went wide receiver. I did not go Rondale Moore, and I did not go the best available player. They already got a speedster burner with McLaurin. I think they go Rashad Bateman, more of a possession, big boy wide receiver to kind of offset what they already have in McLaurin. I think Rashad Bateman has proven that he can be a go-to wide receiver 1-2 type guy. He can beat those tall, lanky corners one-on-one because he can high point the ball very well. He's a possession receiver to go along with the speed they already got. I think Rashad Bateman is a great pick here for the Washington football team, but I don't hate the Rondale Moore pick. I think both of those would fit perfectly into what they want to do. They get some weapons while they wait to see what the quarterback situation is going to be like. Now, Brandon, to the dumpster fire that has always been the Chicago Bears. Can they get a Brian Urlacher? Can they get a Brandon Martin? What can they do to fix this franchise right here?
Really, I'm just hoping they don't go with the quarterback here because that's the worst possible thing they can do. I know they don't want to settle with Mitch Trubisky. There's some Bears fans out there still hoping that the Russell Wilson trade is going to happen. It won't. But I think Chicago has to do something. I think they have to go with an immediate game changer. And I'm going with the guy who Zach just picked. I'm going with Rashad Bateman here. I think this is one of the safest picks for the Bears. They're losing a bit of receiver this offseason. Obviously, they need a guy that whoever they have a quarterback can target. Like you said, he is that big possession receiver. We've seen what he can do at Minnesota. Go watch the highlight tapes. You see one-handed grabs, just balls you never would have thought any human would be able to catch. He somehow brings them in like on his fingertips. Maybe he has suction cups on. I don't know. But, this guy, he plays out of his mind. And I had him above Rondale Moore on my big board, on my top 5 wide receivers for a reason. I just think that the Washington football team sees more value in Rondale Moore. But Chicago definitely goes with the best receiver left in the draft at this position.
Brady, you're going to kill me here. You already told me what the worst decision was for the Bears. I have them going quarterback here. But hang on, timeout. Mac Jones is left.
Yeah.
They go Mac Jones here. Do I think he starts day one? I'm not completely sure. I think they should at least give Mac a try. He's probably the best option they have as of right now. If he isn't ready, you can sit him behind Trubisky. Don't let Trubisky talk to him. Don't let him even give him any advice. Do not mold this young mind into doing anything Mitch Trubisky wants to do. But I think he's a good backup option, Brandon. A good safety net. And worst case scenario, you throw him to the Wolves and see what he can do. And I think that is the biggest need for the
Yeah.
Chicago Bears. I think Mac Jones goes here. So let me know how you feel about that. I want to hear your opinion on this, but I think that's a better pick than
I'm
what they could have made.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all, Zach. Actually, the only reason I said please don't move quarterback here is because I have Mac Jones going at number 15 in this draft. If he's still available, by all means, I mean, give somebody a shot. Mac Jones would be probably the best quarterback in Bears franchise history if he did land there, just because the Bears have never had a good quarterback. It's like Jay Cutler, maybe, and then
Like McMahon,
Mac Jones.
maybe.
So no, that defense. You and I both know that defense. Walter Payton won that Super Bowl, not Steve McMahon.
Steve McMahon. Oh man. But man, let's go to the Indianapolis Colts.
Steve McMahon, or whatever.
Oh man, let's go to the Colts, man. Who do you think the Colts get here? It seems like a team that's just a few pieces away from being put together. Where do you think they go at 21?
I think that they found their quarterback, so to speak, with Carson Wentz. They aren't going there. They aren't going offensive line. I don't think they go offense whatsoever. They're going to stick to the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to go with the guy who maybe should have already been off my board, but he's not. I'm going with J.C. Horn here out of South Carolina. I think they need to beef up this secondary, and this is the guy to do it.
I like it, man. J.C. Horn at 21. That's solid. That's a solid pick. The kid's a playmaker. But I'm going D-line, Brandon. I think one of their biggest needs is a true edge rusher. They're losing Houston on the edge, I believe, to free agency. I'm going Azeez Ojulari from Georgia at edge rusher. This kid is literally a dog. I mean, this dude made my life as an Auburn fan this year a living hell. This kid can get after the quarterback. He's a run stopper. He's physical. He's aggressive, high motor. I think Azeez would immediately be a huge upgrade for the Colts here. But let's stay in division here, Brandon. The Tennessee Titans. I mean, it's just a Derrick Henry show. So what did they get to surround Derrick Henry with some help?
I don't think they help him out on the offensive side at all. And I feel like I keep picking players that you just pick with my next. I'm going with Azeez Ojulari here. I mean, this Titans defensive front has to do something. I mean, they're pretty set on offense. I mean, Ryan Tannehill has really come out as quarterback that they were hoping he would be, that he couldn't have been in Miami. Derrick Henry obviously is doing his thing. I think the secondary is pretty decent in all honesty. They need some help on the edge. They need some help up front in the front seven on this defense. And so I think Azeez Ojulari, like you said, he's big, he's physical. His little brother is better. Shout out BJ Ojulari. Go Tigers. But I mean, this is a guy who's going to make an immediate impact in this defense. And I feel like we keep saying it's super cliche, but I mean, talk about value at 22 or even anywhere in the 20s. Azeez Ojulari is a dog. I mean, he is crazy good.
That's a fact. Listen, I'm going D-line 2. And listen, I know Jalen Phillips is still on the board. He is not a first-round talent, guys. I'm just here to tell you, please pump the brakes on Jalen Phillips. I'm going with a true dog that proved himself on the biggest stage. Joseph Asai, Texas edge rusher. The kid was a baller this year for Texas. I believe he was one of our Big 12 MVPs this year. Always in the backfield. He can make plays behind the line of scrimmage in the run game. He can get after the quarterback. I think the Titans would have a day one starter on that D-line. You have to do something. And this division is wide open for the Colts and Titans, Brandon, because I think the Jags are going to be a year away. I think the Houston Texans are like 50 years away. So it's you and the Colts. And why not get someone who can make Trevor Lawrence's life a living hell in this division with Joseph Asai, who can get after the quarterback? But man, let's get to the second pick, man. You got the Jets. This is Seattle's pick that they got in the Jamal Adams trade. The Jets went quarterback early from both of us. They got Justin Fields according to both of us, but they're going to go quarterback, but we picked Fields there. What did they do to either help Fields, or what do you think they do at 23 here?
So I hate to do this because you just talk crap about him. Jalen Phillips is still on the board, and this is the Jets. and they need help on the defense. They definitely need help
I'm
in
dead.
this defensive front. I'm not nearly as down on him as you are. I think that you're being a little critical here. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, though. Why is he so overrated?
I mean, it's just like I hate when people have like so he goes to UCLA, right? I mean, he's the number one prospect in the entire recruiting class. He can't barely see the field at UCLA. Brandon, can you name one good defensive lineman that has been at UCLA since this kid got there? No, and you should be able to make an impact. Then he goes to Miami, doesn't really play, then gets the fortune of Gregory Rousseau handing him a starting spot by opting out. Who does he start over, Brandon? I just want to ask you: does he start over Quincy Roche or does he start over Gregory Rousseau?
No. Good question. No.
Like this kid wouldn't even be a starter if it weren't for an opportunity, and I don't think I was that impressed this year, Brandon. Did he I don't even think he led the team in sacks this year. Like, what did he do to Gardner from the biggest bust we've ever seen as a recruit to now being a first-round talent? It has to be just off potential alone.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know. I mean, he showed some. I don't know. He showed some promise in my opinion. I mean, he didn't. I don't know if he led the team in sacks, but he was definitely. I mean, he definitely had sacks here and there. Like, I don't know. I'm just not nearly as down as you are on him.
Listen, I'm not down on him. He could be a good player, but is he worth a first-round pick? It's like when I think of first-round pick, I think of day one starter who has the ability to change a franchise. Is he that?
Zach, all I'm saying is that the Jets are the Knicks of the NFL, and they're probably going to go with him, or like a kid from Eastern Europe. I'm not sure.
Hey, they're going to pick Kristaps Porzingis with the 23rd pick. Man, listen, I have someone who I can't believe still on my board. I think they need a linebacker because, I mean, CJ Mosley is getting old. Cashman is what he is, but I think it's someone who could play that linebacker spot and also get after the quarterback. I'm going Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah here from Notre Dame at linebacker. I mean, he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, the heart and soul of this Notre Dame defense, who ended up making a playoff run. I think Jeremiah will be an immediate upgrade. He could be a day one starter. So they got their offensive leader with pick 2. I think they get their defensive leader here at pick 23. But
yeah, no,
let's get to the TikTok Steelers here. Pittsburgh, we're going to see who does the Corvette with Juju this next year, Brandon. They go in offense where they can have like a big group TikTok, or are they trying to get back to the old Steelers with that devastating defense?
I don't know if they're going to go defense here. Maybe they should. I think that they end up going with, I don't know, because I hate doing running backs in the first round, but I feel like they could go running back here. James Conner has been good for the Steelers. He's been very good when he's been healthy. When he hasn't been healthy, which has been kind of a lot, obviously he can't make an impact. I think you have to go with one of the best running backs in the draft at this point, a guy who can play hard on the ground with the rush, a guy who can also, go out for like a little dump-off pass. And I think, I know who you guys are thinking of. It's not him. I'm going with Najee Harris here to the Steelers.
Oh,
Come
Najee. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I went Travis Etienne here, Brandon. So we both went running back, but we did it for different reasons. I think Najee's a great downhill runner. I think he is pretty good in the past. He can jump over people way better than Travis Etienne can. But I think Etienne's shiftier. I think he's more explosive, and I think that's kind of what this offense needs, especially with the limitations that we've seen with Big Ben's arm. These dump-off passes, I think Etienne is better at turning those little dump-off passes into 15, 20, 30, 50-yard touchdown runs. Just because of the explosiveness factor alone, I'm going Etienne here over Najee. So Brandon has Najee suiting up for the Steelers. I got Etienne. Let's get back to Jacksonville, Brandon. They have the Rams pick here. This is their second pick. We both say they get Trevor Lawrence at number 1. Where do they go at 25?
I think that they go ahead and try to get this defense running as well. You know, they've already got their hopefully franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I think that they have to go defense here. I think they go defensive line, and I think they go with the guy who should not be on the board at this point in the draft, but I think that's Christian Barmore out of Alabama, a guy who I think can go ahead and make an immediate impact with Jacksonville.
I'll actually like that pick. I mean, Barmore with Josh Allen on that defensive line is going to be something to watch. But I'm going more long term, not a sexy pick again, but it's a needed pick. You got to protect Trevor Lawrence. That's your number one goal here. I'm going Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC, offensive tackle. I think maybe if he's not ready to start immediately, he at least should be next year. I really like this kid, and I think right now your biggest thing is to either get weapons, which I think are going to be available later for Lawrence, but go ahead and get you that I guess the top tackle still on the board. I think he can come in immediately. He can start at guard or tackle. Make sure Trevor Lawrence does not end up like every other QB bust story where he just didn't have enough protection or enough help to make an impact, because you cannot muck this up if you were the Jacksonville Jaguars. But let's go to a team that struggled at mucking up quarterbacks, to say the least. We got the Cleveland Browns. They finally might have landed one with Baker Mayfield. Where do you think the Browns go here, Brandon, to maybe make that deep playoff Super Bowl run that we've been hearing for 10 years?
So I think you're absolutely right. I think this is a team that has struggled on the defensive front. I think they're going to go with a linebacker here, Zach. I think that's a pretty immediate need for them, because when you think of the Browns, I mean, good Lord, they have everyone at every single position except for linebacker. And so I think they go with the best linebacker left on the board. You just took him. I'm going with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You didn't just take him, but you took him like 2 picks ago. I mean, this kid's a stud out of Notre Dame. Like you said, the 1 year they're in the ACC, he won ACC Defensive Player of the Year. This kid, I mean, he's an absolute dog. He plays hard, and I think that he's going to perform very well in Cleveland.
Actually, I agree with you here. I think they go linebacker. I'm picking my probably number 2 linebacker right behind Micah Parsons, my personal number 2 linebacker. I have Xavier Collins out of Tulsa. I mean, we talked about him on our MVPs of college football. This kid last year was the best linebacker in the country that played. He made Tulsa what they were, which was a very overlooked AAC team. They played Oklahoma State, who was a top 10 team at one point, down to the wire. They played Cincinnati down to the wire, almost ended up beating Cincinnati, who was a top 10 team at points. This team was so good. Xavier Collins, Brandon, he's so explosive. He's fast like a running back. He has the power of some of the best linebackers we've seen. And when he gets his hands on the ball, he can turn any average play into a game-changing scoring play. And I think that's what the Browns need. You combine him with Myles Garrett, with Greedy Williams, with Denzel Ward, with Grant Delpit on that team. You have a bunch of dogs and playmakers on that defense. And I think anybody next year that watches the Browns after they get Xavier Collins is going to be like, okay, this is going to be a problem. And
yeah,
speaking of a team that has a problem at quarterback, Lamar Jackson is a problem if you can't stop his running. So let's get to the Ravens, man. I think there's an obvious need here. So how do they fix it at pick 27?
The need, I'm not sure if it's the same need that you think they have, but Hollywood Brown has underperformed. I think that's an understatement. They need a player at wide receiver, because this team is just run dominant, and that's not good. Yes, Lamar can get it done on his feet, and he's very good at that. But look back to Louisville. Look back to what he did there. He can get it done with his arm. He needs a weapon. And I think this is exactly what they go for here. And I think that they take a guy who I think fits in really well with this Baltimore team. I don't even know what it is about it, but I think they take Kadarius Toney here at 27. Oh my God! That would be crazy, right?
Man, I thought I was thinking outside the box here. I also have them taking Kadarius Toney. Man, this is tough. Man, this would be a disgusting wide receiving core. Brandon, you would have to have an over-the-top safety on every single play. And if you didn't, it would be a problem because Hollywood and Kadarius Toney be running right past you. And the scariest part about Toney that I think separates him from Hollywood Brown, they could throw it 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to Kadarius Toney, and he would make 3 people miss, and he would be in the end zone somehow, 50 yards down the field. Because this dude, listen, I think I said this on one of the other episodes. I think the Senior Bowl preview, Kadarius Toney is lit. If there's a definition for human joystick somewhere on the internet, it should just be a picture of Kadarius Toney. That is how athletic and explosive this kid is, and I think he immediately improves that wide receiving core. And Brandon, think about the Wildcat triple option attack that they could have if they put Toney in the backfield with J.K. Dobbins and Lamar. Just go ahead and wrap it up. There's nothing you can do about it. I think we should go back to the old triple option if they get Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I mean, this team might be unstoppable. This offense at least will be unstoppable if they get Kadarius Toney at 27. That's value pick right there. I mean, because I know that there's for sure 3 wide receivers that are better than him in this draft, but he's up there. I think he's still underrated.
He definitely is. And let's get to a team that might not even have the cap to sign their draft pick. So we'll see if these guys even play for this team. But it is the New Orleans Saints down there in Louisiana. This is Brandon's team. So Brandon, how about this? You give me 2 picks. Who do you want them to draft, and who do you think they will draft? Because those are 2 very different things given the past few years.
Oh, man. Okay, I'll tell you who I want them to draft. Who I want them to draft is, and he's not on your board anymore, but he's still on mine. I'm going to go with Trayvon Moehrig out of TCU. I mean, just an absolute shutdown DB. This kid is incredible. Go watch his tape. Zach had him at, 12?
Yeah.
So you had him up there, which is, I mean, this kid is extremely talented. I've seen him drop on a lot of mock drafts that I've seen to this point, which is why I have the Saints taking him here. I think the Saints are losing a lot. They're having to cut a ton of players due to the salary cap situation that they're in. I mean, they are in cap hell. I mean, definition of cap hell. It's just a fleur-de-lis. It's the Saints. And so the entire state of Louisiana. They're probably going to have to end up cutting some of their DBs. I'm thinking Williams is gone. Kenneth Williams is gone for sure. Not for sure, but probably. And I think this is a good player to take his spot. And good is an understatement. This kid is incredible.
Yeah, I'd love that pick if they can get him at 28. I don't think he'll fall to 28 just personally, but hey, you never know. I'm going with a position I had them drafting last year, and they choked it away by drafting Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. I'm going linebacker here, Brandon. I think they need a true inside threat type of linebacker. I'm going with Nick Bolton out of Missouri. Not a name a lot of average fans know. Brandon knows him because we cover a lot of SEC stuff here. Nick Bolton, Brandon, might have been the best SEC linebacker in the country this year. I mean, and last year he's a stud. The guy is a true linebacker that can play all across that linebacker. I guess he can play outside, inside. He can pass rush. He can step back into pass coverage. This guy can do it all. I think he's a versatile, unique player that the Saints kind of need. They're getting kind of old. Demario Davis is kind of up there in age, and I don't think they have a true other linebacker that you really trust. I mean, Brandon, where do you think Bolton could fit in the Saints defensive scheme?
I think he'd be a very valuable player. I think he can probably play what the Saints were hoping that Quan Alexander would play last season. You know, I love Quan Alexander. I mean, LSU product, played for the Saints last season for part of the season, but he underperformed. I truly think that he'll be able to live up to that hype.
Yeah, I agree. And, okay, let's get to the Packers. Hang on. I'll put the comment back up in case you guys didn't see it earlier in the show. Aaron Jones, Brandon, during the podcast, signed with the Packers again. I didn't think he would be there, but he did sign. If I'm not mistaken, he signed a 4-year, $48 million deal, Brandon. So if you had running back here, which I did, so I made a change on the fly, where do you think the Packers go here now that they got Aaron Jones locked up?
Huh. This sucks. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with let's go with an offensive lineman. I don't know. This is tough. That's a tough thing to learn right before the draft pick.
I'll go first, bro. I'll give you some time to think because
I got it.
Okay, okay.
I got it. I'm gonna go with Taven Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, offensive lineman. I think you can't go wrong there. Protect Aaron Rodgers at all costs, especially after last season, what we could see him do. Protect Aaron Jones. You just re-signed him for 4 years. Why not protect him?
Yeah.
Get this offensive lineman that can get the deal done.
Man, listen, I'm going to go with offense here too, Brandon, but I think their O-line's okay right now. I mean, they have Bakhtiari and they have Elgin Jenkins. They have some strong inside guys, outside guys, but I'm going to go with the weapon. The big thing, man, Aaron Rodgers has been so unhappy. You get me no weapons. You don't do anything for me. They have Devontae Adams, true one-on-one threat, can do it outside, inside, one-on-one, deep threat, everything. I got Rondale Moore here to the Green Bay Packers. Brandon, do you know how disgusting this team is going to be with Allen Lazard healthy, with Devontae Adams, with Valdez-Scantling, and Rondale Moore?
Not fair.
Okay, let me just say this. Aaron Rodgers has been unhappy for a long time. I think Aaron Rodgers would be ecstatic to get Rondale Moore, who would be Brandon, they have their two outside guys in Scantling and Devontae Adams. Now you get a slot guy in Rondale Moore that literally, no matter who you put on him, is going to burn them because God forbid, you were dumb enough to put a linebacker on Rondale Moore. We saw what that happened at Ohio State. You can @ me on Twitter. I am calling you out right now. We can go back to the 2017 or what was it, 2018 film. I don't even remember what year they dominated Ohio State, but Rondale Moore here would solve two problems, Brandon. Aaron Rodgers' emotional state, and a number 2 wide receiver to put next to Devontae Adams. So I'm going Rondale Moore here. I do like your pick of offensive line, though.
I personally think that they should give Aaron Rodgers a little bit more motivation. Maybe draft Kyle Trask here.
Bro, could you imagine? Aaron Rodgers might swipe that card and just burn down the whole building. The whole franchise up in flames because Aaron Rodgers had enough. He would probably quit. Like I don't know if you watched his interviews on Pat McAfee. He would probably quit and be the new host of Jeopardy. No lie. He'd be like, I'm done. Sign me to a contract. I will host Jeopardy instead of this. But let's get to another team. And these last 3 are tough. There's not a lot of needs here. We got the Buffalo Bills, Brandon. They made their AFC Championship run. Who do they get here at 30 to make sure they stay on top of the AFC East and compete with the Chiefs for the AFC?
I'll tell you who, Zach. I think it's another offensive player, honestly. I think they have Josh Allen, who has just outperformed any expectations that anyone had of him. They signed Stephon Diggs, so they've got a wide receiver there. They've got some weapons for Josh Allen. I think they go ahead and give him another weapon, but not just a regular weapon. I think they give him a running back who can – what?
Drew Brees just retired. Breaking news on the podcast. ESPN is just now reporting that Drew Brees has retired.
Oh, thank God. This is maybe the best. Thank you.
I thought you'd like to hear that.
Thank you for all. Can I go change my New Orleans pick? They're going to trade up and draft a quarterback. But anyway, that's good news. Wow, what good news.
Sorry. I thought I had to
done for the city of New Orleans, all you've done for the state of Louisiana. You've done incredible things, but thank you for retiring. Good.
Here we go. We got to thank you from Mr. Chuck, and we got a what took him so long from our Periscope stream. I agree, AJ. I have no idea what took him so long, but Drew Brees, guys, retired from the Saints. Is it Winston time? Is it Taysom Hill time? We will find out there.
Yeah.
We got early Christmas present for NOLA. Christmas present for the boys in NOLA.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Goodness. Wow. Thank you for the timeout, Zach. I really needed that.
I got you, bro. You can go back and talk about the Bills if you want. It's all good.
Let's go ahead and do it. Let's just run through it now. What a good day. I'm going to go with Travis Etienne here, Zach. I hate going with 2 running backs in the first round. I was very wary on going with a running back for Pittsburgh. But I think if you add Travis Etienne into this offense for the Bills, how do you stop this offense? You barely stopped this offense last year in the playoffs. Kansas City had to, and they just barely did it. And now you give Josh Allen not only do you give Josh Allen another threat in the pass game, but you give the Bills an actual rushing game now. I mean, that's something that they haven't had in legitimately like several years. Besides Josh Allen gets it done on his legs, but you want to have a running back who can do that too. I think Travis Etienne's a really good fit in Buffalo.
I like that pick. That's kind of an outside the box pick. I didn't think of it. I thought they were going to maybe stick with Singletary, but I can see running back here. Najee Harris being an interesting pick for me, but I think they're going to go offensive line. They're going to protect that investment in Josh Allen. I got Samuel Cosmi from Texas, offensive tackle. I think he's one of the most surefire tackles in here. I think Alex Leatherwood could be another interesting option here, but I'm going to go with Samuel out of Texas, and I think he could be just a little bit more depth on that in that offensive line room to kind of protect Josh Allen. Brandon, no one is more important to the Bills' success than Josh Allen. So why not go ahead, get an offensive lineman here late to protect them? Because here's why I didn't pick running back, Brandon. Second round, you got Michael Carter. You got Javonte Williams. You got Demetric Felton. You have who might not be a running back, but we'll see. He can play anywhere. You got the Swiss knife that is Demetric Felton. You have running backs so deep in this class. So why not go ahead and get an offensive lineman here where they might not be as deep later? But let's go to the two hardest teams, Brandon. We got the Kansas City Chiefs first. I'm sure you're projecting Kyle Trask here to replace Patrick Mahomes after his abysmal performance in Tampa this year. Who did the Chiefs pick to make another Super Bowl run?
Man, I don't know. I think what you do here, because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. You know, I guess we did see some weak spots in the Super Bowl at defensive line. I don't think that's a real reason to worry. I think you can get some down later on down the draft. I think that you protect that diamond that you have in Patrick Mahomes and you go O-line. I had a lot of O-linemen going in the first round, but I'm going to go with Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma here. I'm not Alex Leatherwood. I'm sorry. I know maybe I could have gone Alex Leatherwood here. I'm not going to. I think Creed Humphrey is a better fit for this scheme.
I like it. Because they lost their two starting tackles, Brandon, I am going Alex Leatherwood here. So shout out to AJ for, taking my pick here, already putting it on blast. Brandon, before his Senior Bowl performance, before this year, we were talking about Alex Leatherwood potentially being a top 5 draft pick. He was going to be – yeah, then the Senior Bowl happened. He showed some weak spots, but I think his value at 31 exceeds any risk that you take of having him there. We saw what that backup tackle did against Tampa Bay, Brandon. I have a feeling Alex Leatherwood will give you a slight upgrade, if nothing, over that horrible, abysmal performance that we saw in the Super Bowl. I'm glad I can make you proud, man. You're welcome. Alex Leatherwood suiting up for the Chiefs. I still like Creed Humphrey, though, there for him, too. That's a really good pick. But we got the last team, Brandon, to wrap up this episode, man. The Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do they get here at 32 to take Tom Brady to another Super Bowl?
I don't need to tell you guys that the Buccaneers don't really need anything. But what I will say is that if they did need anything, I guess it might be like an edge rusher or a defensive lineman. So I'm going to go with Carlos Basham Jr. out of Wake Forest. I
love that.
This guy is getting really high ratings right now from scouts all over the place. I think 32 is kind of right where he goes. I think he's been right there on the verge of first, second round. And I think that Buccaneers could really benefit from having him on their defensive line.
I like that. It's a nice, I guess, protective blanket in case you can't get Shaq Barrett back, into the team. But Brandon, I'm predicting they get him back. I'm predicting they keep JPP on the outside and the Ndamukong Suh on the inside. I'm getting them their final defensive tackle, and you are going to lose it when I say this guy's name. Christian Barmore, Alabama defensive tackle, falls to 32. That defensive line of Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, Barmore, and JPP, That gives me nightmares, and I don't even have to play them. That is just a horrendous matchup for any offensive line. You can't double anybody because the other one's going to make you pay. Then you got the linebackers to worry about, and Levante David and Devin White, who can cover sideline to sideline. And then you go to the back end, and you got all these DBs under like 25 that can run with anybody and are physical enough to make any wide receiver pay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are really just drafting to hoard up good players. Christian Barmore at 32 would be an outstanding value, and I think it gives Tampa Bay that future interior defensive line presence that they're going to need once some of these older guys like Sue and JPP retire.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a great pick there, Zach.
I like it. But, guys, this is going to be up on YouTube. The video will stay up on our Facebook and our Periscope account on our Twitter. So y'all make sure to go back through. Let us know who you would take at these spots, where we went wrong, who we took too high, who we missed. There are some potential first-round guys that we didn't take here, so that could be a little bit of controversy there. But, Brandon, it's good to have you back, man. You can't take another 2 months off, man. I don't care if you move in, doing anything. You can't take another 2 months off, bro.
Sorry, guys. It was my summer vacation. I'm kind of moved into the house. If you guys can't see the new setup, bought a house. And so that's kind of where I've been. But I'm back. I'm back, guys.
But, guys, we're going to start releasing a more consistent, just normal Blue Bloods episodes. We are continuing our Big 10 and 31 days this week. Tomorrow on Monday, we have Wisconsin in a great episode. And we got Rutgers this upcoming week. We got some other big ones coming. So make sure to tune into that. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Hit that post notification bell so you are notified anytime we post a YouTube video. All our episodes and more up on there. And don't forget, Monday through Friday on our YouTube channel, the 2-minute drill is our short series where we just cover the most recent news in college football. Tomorrow, we'll be covering Jackson State's game today. They are currently playing against Mississippi Valley State. And we got some transfer portal news that we will cover later. But, guys, for myself, for Brandon, for the Blue Bloods, we will see y'all later this week, but we are out.